They're going to take custody of my kid?
Yes.
For what?
We will explain all that to you as we go.
That was Miranda Brothers, a police officer, when she was pulled over in Ohio a year ago. She was later accused of allowing her young son to hang out with a sex offender.
I'm going to tell you one thing, okay, that you working with us is not going to hurt you.
Now Brothers is suing the sheriff's office and the county after the charge was thrown out, and she claims private photos from her cell phone were passed around. I have the details. Welcome to Crime Fix. I'm Angenette Levy. Miranda Brothers is a police officer in Northeast Ohio, and now she's taking the sheriff of the county where she lives to court, claiming she was prosecuted for endangering her 5-year-old son with no evidence, and that a sheriff's detective found private photos of her on her cell phone during the investigation and then shared them with his fellow deputies. This all started on New Year's Day 2024, when detectives with the Portage County Sheriff's Office pulled her over. Now, what the detectives told Brothers shocked her. They were investigating a restaurant owner who was a sex offender, and somehow she got involved in this.
No big secret. We're doing an investigation. It involves Sebastian.
Okay.
Okay. No big secret.
Okay.
That has spilled over.
Okay.
Okay. We've been dealing with the prosecutor.
Okay.
Okay. We need to talk to you.
Okay.
And Job and Family Services is going to. Okay.
Temporary custody.
They're going to take custody of my kid?
Yes.
For what?
We will explain all that to you as we go. Okay. I'm just letting you know where we're at and what we're doing. Okay. And we're going to get things figured out as best we can for you. Okay. So.
What the heck?
Take a minute, digest. Okay.
You're going to take custody of my kid because of him?
Now, Miranda Brothers, as you can see, is clearly shocked. Her 5-year-old son is in the car, and detectives tell her no matter what they discuss, she is going home.
All right. We got a couple more people coming. We'll get things taken care of, and we're going to do this. Listen, okay? What I want to do right now, okay, is I can't minimize anything for you right now, but I want to minimize everything I can for Alex, okay? So work with us on that one, darling, and we'll go from there, okay? All right. You say there's a dog, too? Is he going to bite my head off?
No.
Okay.
How long do I have to go without him?
That's not up to me, but we're going to do what we can, okay? But I'm going to tell you one thing, okay? That you working with us is not going to hurt you. You know what I'm saying? Okay.
Do you have your cell phone? Where's it at?
3 years.
Okay.
So, let me see that real quick. So, this is a search warrant for your cell phone, okay?
I have my chief on the phone so he can hang up.
Okay,
Okay, hang up.
please.
I have to go. Because they have a search warrant for my phone. They have a search warrant for my phone.
So the detectives have a warrant for Brothers' cell phone. She turns it over, and what she says next will become important later.
So you guys were the ones sitting outside the apartment today when I went to look because I saw you guys and then I went to pull up next to you and you said leave it alone because it was you guys. I said okay. I just picked up my son in Virginia from my RPA.
I am not going to lie to you. Yes, that was me sitting there.
Okay, that's what I thought.
Okay. I'm a really crappy liar, Miranda, so I don't do it.
I
Okay.
don't either. I don't have anything. They may see other things on that phone they don't want to see, but they're not going to see anything that involves Sam.
I want to tell you about Upside. It's a free app that gets you cash back on things like gas, groceries, and restaurants. This is real cash back. It's money that appears in your Upside app that you can transfer straight into your bank account. I've used Upside at Dunkin' Donuts when I needed a cup of tea. I claimed an offer for Dunkin' on the app, paid as usual, and followed the steps, and I got cash back. It's really, really easy. You can also use Upside at places like Shell, 7-Eleven, Taco Bell, and that's just to name a few. To find out how much you could earn, click the link in the description to download Upside or scan the QR code on your screen and use our promo code CRIMEFIX to get an extra 25 cents back on every gallon on your first tank of gas. That's promo code CRIMEFIX for extra cash back. The detective already told Brothers that he didn't want to be there. Then two of the detectives start discussing how this whole thing started.
Has she been told anything other than kids being removed? Or?
I told her that, we're investigating Sebastian,
Yeah.
and she goes, okay. And I said, based on that, we've been working with the prosecutor, and the prosecutor said we're removing
Good.
Alex.
Okay, I want to make sure she understood this isn't coming from us.
And we're going to go
We'll
over it.
reiterate that. Yeah. I mean, it is, but it isn't. This wasn't our idea.
No, we started the investigation, but...
So you heard the detectives say that they started the investigation, but it wasn't their idea. The deputies eventually go back to Miranda Brothers, who's sobbing, and she was worried about whether she'll ever get her son back.
He has a dad, and they're not going to give him to him, are they?
I'm sorry, what?
The dad in the area that are they going to give him to him?
He has no custody rights to him, no. No. Okay.
They'll never get him back from
Okay.
him.
Okay. Here's what. Okay. Like I said, obviously we want to talk. Right now, I have an issue putting you behind the wheel of a car.
I'm fine.
Okay, well, listen to me.
Rome.
Listen to me. Okay. Okay. We want to get down to the station right now. Okay. If the dog will be all right for a little bit in the car, let's have somebody drive you down to the office. Okay. We'll get things taken care of and we'll go from there. Is that okay? Because like I said, I'm concerned for you right now. Can you drive her down?
Yeah, we can take it.
Okay. No, drive her car down.
Yeah, we can drive it.
Okay. Okay. Miranda, before you go inside, you don't have any guns or anything in the car? Okay, I'm not going to look. I'm not.
I don't care if you do. That's what I give you.
Okay.
Miranda Brothers sobs as social workers plan to take her son from her.
Is it this black suitcase? Can you ask her if it's a black suitcase?
Miranda, is it the black suitcase?
Yeah, and his coat's right there.
She said his coat. His coat.
I bet you it is. Grab that blanket too. Have her. You can have her.
Now, Miranda Brothers is an officer with the Manaway Police Department, and she was later charged with a misdemeanor count of endangering children for allegedly leaving her son with a sex offender. Detectives wrote, Juvenile A has been observed being watched by the offender alone without any other adult supervision. It is believed that Brothers allows the offender to spend extended periods of time along with Juvenile A. The prosecutor asked to dismiss this case in July, claiming a witness wasn't available because of a medical issue, and the judge granted the motion. Now Miranda Brothers is suing, and she claims the state never had any evidence to begin with. The suit states, as part of the investigation, the Portage County Sheriff's Office deployed at least 2 detectives to observe plaintiff Brothers and/or Juvenile A on December 7th, 2023 in the village of Manaway, Ohio. Detective Hannah has testified that on December 7th, 2023, Detective Hannah did observe Juvenile A have minimal contact with a registered sex offender. This contact consisted of a registered sex offender following Juvenile A outside and zipping up Juvenile A's coat. The suit continues. Detective Hannah has testified that on December 7th, 2023, Detective Hannah observed other adults supervising either Juvenile A or the registered sex offender. Had Detective Hannah observed any behavior on December 7th, 2023 that would cause him to conclude that Juvenile A was endangered, he would have taken steps to remove the child immediately. Miranda Brothers' attorney told a Cleveland TV station that she met her son's babysitter at a restaurant, and that restaurant was owned by this registered sex offender. The suit also makes claims about the search of Miranda Brothers' cell phone that are pretty explosive. As a result of the forensic search, members of the Portage County Sheriff's Office came into contact with private digital images of plaintiff Brothers, including Detective John Doe. Despite knowing that the digital images were not relevant to any criminal charge, Detective John Doe shared and/or disseminated these digital images within the Portage County Sheriff's Office and potentially further. The Portage County Sheriff's Office's conduct of observing, sharing, and or disseminating the private digital images of plaintiff brothers was so extreme and outrageous that it went beyond all possible bounds of decency and is intolerable in a civilized community. The suit goes on to say the Portage County Sheriff's Office's conduct caused psychological injury to plaintiff brothers. Miranda Brothers' lawsuit makes several claims, including malicious prosecution, intentional infliction of emotional distress, and a number of constitutional law violations. She also says she lost income because of the misdemeanor charge. The suit says, as a result of the removal of juvenile A and or the criminal prosecution for endangering children, plaintiff Brothers was prohibited from accepting overtime/off-duty details as a police officer for the village of Manaway. Portage County Sheriff Zukowski was informed of the actions of his detectives and supported their actions. I want to bring in Fanon Rucker. He is a lawyer with the Cochran firm out of Ohio, and he's also a retired municipal court judge. So, Fanon, I'm wondering what you are thinking about this lawsuit, because I thought of you the minute I read through it.
So I watched the video. I read the lawsuit. Lawsuits are so technical, but the experiences that we have as citizens are practical. And the practical reality of what happened to this citizen, this police officer, this mother, is pretty disheartening. It's pretty depressing. I can't imagine, as a father and a grandfather, being in the position of having these law enforcement officers surround you and taking your phone and charging you with crimes that could destroy your reputation and your career. I mean, it's a tough set of facts, and the lawsuit is, drafted to address that tough set of facts.
I find it just kind of wild that she is claiming they had no evidence. She was apparently, according to her lawyer, he talked to a TV station in Cleveland. I reached out to him. He has not gotten back to me yet at the time of this recording. He said that she would go to this restaurant, this sub shop, and it appears that they had some events there with the police department in the past where they were collecting toys for kids and stuff like that. She would drop her child off there, meet the babysitter there. This was like a rendezvous spot. And they're saying the police are saying they saw this registered sex offender who apparently owns the sub shop zipping up the kid's coat or something like that. And they said, we believe, in their probable cause statement, we believe that the child spends extended periods of time with this guy. They said, we believe, but they didn't really have anything more to back that up. It just sounds very strange. I mean, she's a police officer. It doesn't mean that she can't commit a crime, but just the basis for the charge. What are you thinking about that? They charged her with a misdemeanor for child endangering, and the charge was later dropped.
Right. So when we talk about malicious prosecution or arrest without probable cause, and that's really the gravamen or the basis of this complaint, there's a couple of components to it. And these are types of cases that I handle pretty regularly. What you have to have is a charge initiated against somebody. And it could be a traffic offense or a more serious criminal offense like this was, or even some of the most serious charges of murder or kidnapping. But the essential basis of the case is that the state started a prosecution, they arrested somebody, they moved forward with the case, but ultimately the case was resolved in favor of the person who was arrested or charged. Now, that in favor could be that the judge looked at it and said, oh my gosh, this is a ridiculous case. I said that a few times when I was on the bench, and threw it out. Or it could be that the state looks at it after police officers initially file a claim, and then they decide, well, this wasn't appropriate, this is wrong. Or they're found not guilty by a jury or a judge, and now it's been resolved in their favor, and they can then argue that there was no basis in the beginning. It's a tough claim to make. I'll be honest with you. Law enforcement has a lot of protections in place to kind of cushion them for the decisions that they make in law enforcement. But here, that's tough. It's almost like she was being targeted for some reason by somebody. That's not what's alleged in the complaint, but that certainly is something that in my practical mind comes across to me when I read the complaint and look at these facts.
Yeah, and her lawyer had kind of implied that before in an interview with a TV station in Cleveland. And it's interesting because in the body camera footage that we showed a little bit earlier, one of the officers basically says to her, one of the deputies, the detective says, I don't want to be here doing this. I mean, maybe that's just talk. But then he's in a cruiser with another deputy, a detective, and they're kind of saying they started this investigation, but this part of it, this was not their idea. So they said they were working with the prosecutor's office. I mean, it came from somewhere. Somebody said to go forward with this. So it makes me wonder if that's part of what's going on here too. They want to see where the focus on her kind of came about. Why did they kind of hone in and zero in on her?
That's right. And, there's something that was not explained in the complaint, but something that kind of raised my concern, my concerning eyebrow. And that is that they had a search warrant to search her cell phone. Now, when we talk about search warrants and the ability to go through people's phones or their mail or anything else,
they need probable cause.
That's right. A judge has to actually review some information from a law enforcement officer in order for the judge to issue that search warrant in the first place. And it's not a low standard. It's not just, sure, because the right to privacy under the Fourth Amendment is something that we hold dear in this country. And the courts are very serious about protecting. So when judges are asked to be able to infiltrate that person's privacy and review their phones, it's something, again, that they take very seriously. So the fact that they had a warrant to seize and review the contents of her phone, which, of course, the allegation is that they went too far with that and looked at some private pictures and then started sharing them amongst each other who were not involved in the case. That's a raised eyebrow, because that almost justifies some aspect of what they're doing with this stop and this arrest and removing the child.
Yeah. And I wanted to move on to that. You kind of brought that up. I mean, that's another allegation in this, that she suffered a psychological injury because she said during the traffic stop, there's some stuff on that phone, but it's not about, that restaurant owner or anything like that. So they find private photos, she claims, and then they pass them around, and that it caused her psychological injury. So that part of it, wow. If they're passing around private photos of her, I mean, yikes, Fanon, that's a pretty serious violation.
It is. And one of the claims I was looking for when I read the complaint, knowing that was one of the allegations, was a complaint of invasion of privacy. That's a common law claim. A lot of these are common law claims, and I don't want to go into a deep explanation of federal claims versus state claims, but the majority of these are state common law claims. Intentional infliction of emotional distress, state claim. Malicious prosecution, state claim. And there were several that were intentional inflictions for the conduct that was alleged to have occurred. But I was looking for an invasion of privacy claim. That is, look, I got some private stuff going on, and you, without authority, without justification, dug into my private life, and then you went talking about other people that you had no business talking about it. Now, the allegations are there, even if that specific claim is not. But you just kind of wonder if that isn't a view into what really was at issue here. Maybe there was some, officer or law enforcement individual or private individual who knew her from, private stuff unrelated to policing and wanted to get at that information. Maybe there was a jilted lover who knew that there was information that could be embarrassing. And so they made an allegation that she was engaged in somehow with her child being exposed to a child predator. Who knows? Obviously, the lawsuit is going to reveal more, but there's a lot of things that really leave questions in the mind about what was the motive here? Why did they do this? And who was this that disseminated? Who saw it? And how did she even find out about that?
Yeah, it's there are a lot of questions still hanging out there. I reached out to the chief of the Manaway Police Department. She is still employed there. She was placed on, some sort of leave, he said, while this investigation was going on. But now that things have been resolved and the case was dismissed, she's back to active duty. There is an interesting component of this. She at the time was dating the police chief. Apparently there were some issues with that. So there's a lot going on in the background that we don't really have a lot of answers to. So it would be interesting to know what motivated the investigation into her and her parenting of this child. I reached out to the sheriff's office. The sheriff's secretary told me that there was no comment on this at this time. She alluded to the fact that there's some misinformation in the suit, and the prosecutor's office has not gotten back to me about a comment on the suit. So I guess we're just going to have to wait for it to move forward and make its way through the courts.
That's right. And one of the claims that was made in the lawsuit was a 1983 claim. And what that alludes to is 42 USC 1983, which is what we know as civil rights actions. And
Right.
It's a federal statute. So even though this was filed in state court, it is very possible, in fact, very likely, that with that federal claim, the state is going to remove this or take this out of the state court judges' hands and move this over to federal court, where we might have a lot less access to it and the proceedings and what happens than we would if it stayed in state court.
Yeah, when I saw that reference to the constitutional law violations, I thought that was pretty interesting that they had filed it in state court rather than in federal court. Well, she's seeking, basically, if you total it all up, in excess of $500,000. I mean, she's seeking a certain amount of money for each claim. So we'll see what happens with it. Fanon Rucker, thank you so much for coming on. I appreciate it.
Thank you.
And that's it for this episode of Crime Fix. I'm Angenette Levy. Thanks so much for being with me. I'll see you back here next time.